Owning a home will not make you happy. Just because you have a nice home. I know plenty of people with nice homes that hate their lives.
In 2016, I sold my marketing agency to PwC for more money than I'll ever need. And my most recent business venture, HelpBank, is valued at over $50 million in just 12 months.
When people start describing their dream, they change. I see like a light come on in people's eyes.
Yeah.
Excuse me, do you have a dream? Do you guys have a dream? Do you have a dream?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a fashion designer.
I'm up for an award. My wife needs to wear a ball gown. How about I pay you £500 to design her an outfit? This book just became the #1 book on the Sunday Times bestseller list.
And the reason I've written the book, the reason I do my YouTube channel, the reason I built HelpBank is because people need to know the truth. And I don't mind if people then decide to get a job. Oh, are you ready? You really want me to open this can of worms?
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
So, okay, I might accidentally go mental now.
You know, we've been following your content here in Australia for a long time now, and this studio that we have set up, so this is actually our business that we started that is inspired by you encouraging people to take a leap and go out there and get their business started. So this studio that we have here only started 4 weeks ago. We are in that zone of where we're taking that risk and kind of jumping out there, and we're in the unknown at the moment. We are definitely inspired by, we're seeing you on the streets there in London asking people to get their business started. So we really love what you are doing over there in the UK.
Yeah, it's a big reason why we started this.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. I always say to people that it's very flattering to be a part of your journey, and if it all works out, I take all credit. If it doesn't, blame someone else. All right?
Totally.
But yeah.
Okay, so first time that you were out there on the streets and you started asking those questions, what kind of reactions were you getting in the initial stages? Were you getting rejected from people? Or because I imagine right now when you walk up to someone, they know who you are, they want to answer that question straight away. You almost see someone as soon as that microphone starts, swinging around in the streets of London, they want to come up to you and share now. But was it harder to get people to share their stories at the beginning?
Yeah, it's shocking to me how many people know about what we're doing now. I'm kind of blown away about how, I guess, social media in general can reach so many people in all parts of the world as well. So I just came back from Kuwait, not a market that I thought I'd have a lot of fans in. And it seems like every time I went to a coffee shop or went for dinner or lunch, the waiter or waitress or the people running the place, they kind of know what I'm doing, which has blown my mind. But I think there's still a lot of people that don't. There's 8 billion people on the planet. So it's weird because I now get kind of a mixture. I've got really good at, I guess, getting people to share their story just because I've been doing it now, 5 years in total, but in the streets for 3 years. So I've got quite good at pattern interrupting people and them actually talking to me. But the reactions now are very varied. Sometimes people pretend they don't know me to then tell me their dream, which I think, I can kind of tell. And then there's people that just don't know me. And of course, sometimes they tell me to get lost. Other times they ignore me. And then sometimes I manage to convince them to share their dream and it's all good. But it's fascinating to me, the human psychology of it all. When people start describing their dream, they change. I see like a light come on in people's eyes. Yeah. It's a really exciting experience, and I suggest to anybody, if you feel confident enough, ask your partner their dream. A lot of people don't even know their partner's dream. Try it. It's a really interesting question, and it really gets an interesting response most of the time.
Simon, a lot of the time on the streets, when I've been seeing a lot of your videos where you're offering people cash to quit their job to start their dream. A lot of the time they don't take it. Like how does that end after? Because I guess we don't always get to see the final results of the video sometimes. Like how often do you actually see them quit on the spot?
So I think the amount of money that I've given now varies from, $50 to $25,000 is the most I've given out.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on the situation for the person in question.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people don't think it's real, so they give the money back. even when the cameras, we've stopped to say, like, your dream was amazing. And they're like, oh, nice to meet you. Here's the money. Almost expecting it to be, almost like a scam. People going, oh, this must be some sort of, content game.
Yeah.
Get your money back. And I think most of the people we've given the money to keep it. The ones that have given it back are the ones that are a bit scared to commit. And it's the thing I actually kind of like about human nature is like people don't want to say they're going to do something unless they are going to do it. I think it's a good thing in human nature. But I think a lot of people have a dream, they want to make it happen, and then I give them the money to make it happen. And now what's their excuse?
Yeah, totally.
So sometimes people give the money back so they can continue with the excuse.
Yep.
And I think sometimes people give the money back because they don't want to say they're going to do something and then not do it and take the money.
Well, that's one of your...
We have started filming a lot of the stories that happen afterwards on our YouTube channel. So we've started sharing, because they're longer form content, where we share, the beginning, middle and end of people's journeys.
Yeah.
But it takes years. It takes years for someone who says they're going to start their dream on the street to it being a real business. It can happen quickly if you're in a service business or maybe starting a podcast. But to make some of the businesses we're helping, like the vegan patty ladies business, it takes 6 months, a year, to get the equipment, to make the product, to get it sold in shops, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think one of the things that you put in your book, we love the book, by the way. We've got it right here. Okay. We've dogged all of our favourite bits, is obviously that people are afraid to fail. And that's, I guess, what you see a lot in your videos is they want to do it, but that fear of failure is something that I guess is embedded in us as humans, right? Like I know even when we were starting to talk about building our studio space, I was very nervous about it, more so than Simon was. But we both had that fear of like, oh, what if it doesn't work?
Yeah, will people laugh? Will people laugh at us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like, but what if it does? And you will never know unless you give it a go. And so that's what we kind of love about how you're helping these people get over that fear. And what advice would you give to someone who is feeling that way?
I think fear is an asset.
Yeah.
I think it's a superpower. We're meant to feel fear. If you look at history, it always teaches you a lot, I think, about the future and human behavior. But I love the whole point of fear, which is its original design is to help you outrun a lion. Like a lion is coming towards you and fear kicks in. And what fear does, it actually makes you run faster. It makes you focus. It makes your imagination fire up. So like, I'll climb that tree. Maybe that's the way out. It's a superpower and people are not leveraging it. They feel it, but because there isn't a lion, it's an idea. They can say no, and then that feeling dies, and it's a problem. We're meant to lean into it. We're meant to feel it because it helps us to not fail.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone should want to fail. I don't want to fail, but I also know, and I've written about this in the book, as you guys know, there are, ways to measure failure. So if I start something and it doesn't work, I have a limited downside. I measure the failure. What is failure? And most of the time, the failure that really stops us doing what we should be doing is what other people might think. And I really believe with all my heart, I failed many times in business. And if my wife had turned around and said to me, you're a failure, I'm leaving you, I'd be like, good. I'll see you later.
Yeah.
I think it can teach you who your real friends are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally.
And I think it's a really interesting thing to do because, if people aren't your friend anymore or judge you because you failed, then I don't think you want them as friends.
Totally, 100%. Sonia and I, our background for the last 20 years has been in traditional media. And we both understand how, toxic and negative that industry has been. And one of the things that we're really proud about what you've done and what you've built is a really positive brand on social media. And obviously social media has its negative sides as well. But one of the things that really stood out to us was the day that you shared the story where it may have been from you or it may have been a news article where your numbers were actually bigger than the BBC in the UK, which is just It's
Wild.
amazing, right? But the thing is, the power for yourself, but also for others to be able to create content from that phone in their hand now and have more power than the BBC is pretty wild.
Yeah, I guess the word power is always an interesting one to me. I think.
But you're using it for good.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I think same as for profit for good. Like, we are not a charity. My platform, I spent a lot of time thinking about this.
Yeah.
I started the platform as a for-profit business, and it was actually quite hard to do it that way, because initially people said, "What do you want to do, Simon?" Well, I want to help people with their dreams, and I want to fund their dreams, and I'd like to update the education system so that financial literacy and business is taught to young people, so they've got more choices. And people are like, "Oh, you're starting a charity." I'm like, "No, we're a for-profit business that's doing something good."
Yeah.
And it was really hard at the beginning for people to digest it.
Yep.
Because it's either you're a for-profit company and somehow the only way to operate that is bad, like for shareholders, or there's a charity model. And so I've really tried to pioneer a model I call the zero model, which is where, you do a lot of good with the profit you make. And I think that more businesses should be structured this way. But it's been an interesting journey, because certainly, having more views than the BBC itself is a news channel.
Yeah.
And their job is to somewhat get people to click through fear.
Yeah.
Like Third World War coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
Click here.
Yeah.
They want those headlines because that's how they've attracted the views.
Yeah, the attention.
So I'm most proud of the fact of two things. One, the views come from positive stories, people following their dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second part of I'm really proud is that those views are used to help people's businesses launch and for people's dreams to become a reality. Exactly as you just said, Simon, making people's dreams come true, using social media for social good.
Yeah.
I think is a totally underrated opportunity in social media. And I've been talking to charities, and I was homeless for a while, so I've been talking to homeless charities, trying to help them, and trying to get folks to realize that this is one of the most exciting times ever to promote something good.
Totally.
And you can complain about social media being bad for kids and all that. The kids that come up to me in the street are consuming my content. I think social media has helped them.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're watching other than me.
Yep.
But, I feel like actually if we all got into the arena and started putting good content into social media, that product would be an education system.
100%.
Yeah.
And for Australians, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in Australia, we are absolutely obsessed with property. Talking about property, we sit around on the weekend. We
same
talk
in
about,
England.
Right. What are your thoughts on someone that is, 30 years old, 35 years old right now? They're trying to save that deposit to buy their property, to get on that property ladder, to build their wealth. What are your thoughts on that for an Australian right now who's really, to be honest with you, struggling to get that goal done because maybe their parents want them to do that?
Oh, are you ready? You really want me to open this can of worms?
Yeah.
I do, yeah, because I think this is a really interesting time. Our parents.
This subject. So, okay, I might accidentally go mental now.
Right, let's
We
do
love
it.
it.
Let's go mental.
Right, because there's a lot of psychology around this property life.
Yep.
That I'm worried about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think a lot about it. And okay, so here's the first thing. Your listeners might hate this, but if we're not taught financial literacy at school, which we're not, the problem is that most people's experience with money for the first time is often debt of some sort.
Yeah.
And people don't understand how debt works. So, for example, if you have a mortgage, the bank hasn't lent that money to you because they're kind people.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
If there's money in property, they're going to make it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If there was money in owning and maintaining a property, they would have done it already.
Mm-hmm.
The money, and this is how, okay, so I am now rich, but I was once poor, and I know how it all works now. And the way it works is this. People think rich people want to own property. That is not true. Because if I deploy my millions, it's easier to deploy it in, say, the stock market. It's liquid. I can buy and sell. Let's say even crypto. It's easy to buy and sell. There's risk factors here, but I'm not endorsing crypto, just to quickly say. But if I want to deploy a lot of capital, what I do is I give it to the bank as an intermediary, and then the bank lends it to people who then buy the property, maintain the property, look after the property. And I make money from those people. Now, I don't do this, okay? I'm talking about rich people. They don't own property like people think. And they didn't make money owning property either. If you look at the top 100 rich in the world, they made it by starting a business.
Yeah.
Now, they might have taken some of that money and put it into some property to store wealth, because certainly you can buy 5 properties and store it, one in New York, one in London, one in Australia, sure. But if you want to deploy capital, the best way is through the banks to lend it to people for mortgages. And then the people that actually take that money are working for those people. Every time you spend an hour at work after tax, that money goes to the interest payment at the bank. It is causing a problem, and this is where it gets really complicated. The property market then has this very rich people lending money to people. Now property prices creep up because people can get the money easier.
That's right.
So now we're taking a basic human need, accommodation.
Yeah.
Right? Basic human needs now, also electricity, this brilliant invention that we all need, is now a basic human need. And these are owned often by private companies, along with water companies. And the home ownership thing is a real problem because now all the prices go up. And I know this is the same in America and in Australia and in England. This is a global problem. The property prices all go up. In England, for example, a nurse can't afford to buy and a nurse can't afford to rent now. Okay, so and the system can't afford to pay them more. So they end up like basically landlords that own the property are literally in control. Pricing go up, inflation goes up, but money doesn't come into the market because only when you sell the property, the money then comes back into the market. But everyone has to live in a property. So inflation goes up. People think they're richer on paper. They're not. They pay 2 or 3 times more for their house by the end of their life. It is literally like, because people don't understand money, what I'm saying now, probably people won't even, I think, even listen to it. Maybe I'm scared because I think people don't understand. If you have a mortgage, you have a debt. You do not have an asset. And that's the difference. People don't understand the house is not an asset. It's a liability if they live in it.
Yeah, no, it's the same here, Simon. Like you said, there's nurses here that get paid shockingly as well, and it's a massive problem. They can't afford to live in this city. Like Sydney is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, and the inflation at the moment it's shocking. And we're told our whole lives, save your money, buy a house. Like that's embedded in us. And I think you're absolutely right in saying that the education system needs to be updated so that kids don't fall into the trap where we're now learning in our late 30s that those financial decisions weren't beneficial. They aren't working.
Well, first of all, they take up your deposit money, takes up your capital that you could deploy into a cash flow business. And more importantly, own your time.
For sure.
So when I was younger, I made a little bit of money from one company. I made £50,000, so 75,000 US dollars, I think it was at the time. And everybody said to me, buy a house. I didn't. I put it into another business. And that business made money. Now, if I bought the house in question, it would have doubled by now, but I would have had to maintain it for 20 years.
Correct.
And also, I'd have to sell it to take the money out, which means if I wanted to buy something equivalent, it's doubled in value. Whereas I put it into a business that made millions of dollars. And more importantly, I learned stuff.
Well, what was your thinking, though, to when someone was like, buy the house at such a young age? I'm assuming, was it your first business that you made that and then you were told buy the house, but you said no? Like, how did you figure it out so quickly?
Well, I think because I left school at 15 years old, I just didn't get on the treadmill. And I already knew that a lot of stuff that I'd been told wasn't true. So, for example, people like get a good education can guarantee you your future. It turns out, no. Knowledge of how to build a business and selling, for example, which everyone can learn. It's not a special skill. It can be taught. And these things are what set me free, not my education. My education, and I watched this happen with friends of mine who became lawyers and doctors. They got trapped by those jobs. Because they spent 6 years becoming a lawyer. And then they had to be a lawyer. And what do lawyers do? Lawyers sell hours. So as your lifestyle costs increase, which everyone does as they get older, you have kids, you want a bigger house, you want holidays, you blah, blah, blah. Their hours the amount of hours they had to work or amount they had to charge per hour kept climbing.
Yeah.
So by the time they're 40, they're working all the time. They don't see their kids.
Yeah.
Just to make ends meet. And so whereas I had it at the beginning, less money at the beginning, but I invested in something that could scale without me over time.
Yeah.
So it's just education. And, I think it frustrates me because, and the reason I've written the book, the reason I do my YouTube channel, the reason I built Help Bank is because people need to know the truth. And I don't mind if people then decide to get a job.
Yeah.
But if people don't understand how money works, how time works, people are selling time. And they're selling time in all sorts of ways. The actual hours they work, that's time-based most of the time, which is ridiculous because it means you can't scale.
Yeah.
You should be selling outcomes, not time. And then people are selling time when they get a car on finance. They've just given away 15 hours a week of their life, or 15 hours a month, maybe, depending on the payment amount. When they get a mortgage, same. And so people will say to me, well, Simon, it's cheaper to buy than it is to rent. Okay, well, I'm like, well, once you buy, you are stuck in a location. So opportunity, you can miss it because you feel like you've got to stay where your house is. The second thing is when you have to rent and you're trying to start a business, you can do what I did. I slept in my office.
Yeah.
When I was young, I had no kids. I had no responsibilities. I could do it. And then I slept on a friend's couch for a while. And, I think I rented a room in a house, and I actually rented out the room in the house. So when I wasn't there, I made money.
Yeah, smart.
I just think that people's imagination it's not rent versus mortgage. It's mortgage versus freedom.
Yeah.
And when you're young in particular, like owning a home, it will not make you happy. Just because you have a nice home. I know plenty of people with nice homes that hate their lives.
Yeah.
You've got to work on and invest in enjoying what you do every day. And that will lead to making money, which will lead to time freedom, which is the most valuable thing you can ever have.
Yeah. A friend of mine, she's a single mum with two 15-year-old twins. And with technology and the way things are changing, and obviously AI is here, and her twins have a lot of anxiety. They're at that age group of like, what are we going to do? That's the question that a 15 to an 18-year-old is that's rolling around in their mind when they finish school. What am I going to be doing with my career? And I don't know why they feel like that, because they've got the rest of their life to work that out. But we all know that's what that age group is thinking about. What would you say to her two 15-year-olds right now on choosing a path with the way that the world is going?
It's really obvious to me now, I've gone through this whole process, that, and people might roll their eyes out around when I say this, but like, dig into what you enjoy doing. Again, everything school taught you, do the opposite. So what school teaches you is you're not good at biology. So you need to do that. You're getting a D in biology, you need to do it more. No. What are you good at? What do you really enjoy doing? What doesn't feel like work? Just do that. Find a way to just do that. Now, if you're lucky enough to have some pain in your life, then you can learn to leverage pain and match it with your skill set to build something that solves a problem in the world and you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So in my case, I feel like the school system let me down. I left school at 15 and knew nothing about money, knew nothing about the world, how to survive in it. So I have this feeling now I must fix the education system. And luckily, I built up a skill. I love marketing. I love understanding the psychology of marketing. I love leveraging all these new apps and all the free marketing they'll give. And so I've learned to take the thing I love, marketing, and apply it to something I think is a real problem in the world I want to fix. And I put the two together, which means I enjoy what I do and I can follow through and I can make a difference. And you can't stop me because the purpose matters to me. And I think, even at 15 years old, you start to know what you like doing.
Yeah.
And I don't care if someone tells you should go learn the thing you're not good at, ignore them.
Right.
Just go do the thing that you love to do. I don't care what it is. If it's fly fishing, if it's golf, if it's watching aeroplanes fly around the sky, it does not matter. Whatever it is you love doing, become good at it.
Yep.
And ignore everybody. And if you enjoy it and you're good at it, you will find a way to make money out of it.
It's something that I think young kids need to start to recognize, and that's what your message is about, and that's why your book is so powerful. And I think people are going to get a real kick out of it, because I was up all night rereading it, messaging Simon saying this is what we're doing. Like, it was exciting. And I was like, I'm so excited to speak to you today, Simon, and hear it from your mouth as well. Because I know that in your book, you started out by saying the question of asking people about their dreams stemmed from a troll online.
Yes.
And so you turned a negative into such a huge positive. If you could talk to that troll, what would you say to them now?
I think hate is actually a really valuable thing.
Yeah.
You know, the softer version of it is feedback.
Yep.
I think it's really interesting to hear, and I think a lot of the people that 5 years ago when I started this, I had a lot of people who didn't like me for whatever reason. They didn't believe me, they didn't think I really cared, they thought I was just doing it for the views. But a lot of those people, the people that actually helped me become popular online.
Yeah.
And now, in fairness, a lot of them are some of my biggest fans.
Yeah.
I call a lot of people that hate, most of the time we know this, it's some problem they've got.
Yeah.
It's they're annoyed they're not doing it. Most of the time, the people that are, give you proper hate, they have a problem of their own. And I always feel empathetic now to people that maybe hate me. And the other part of me is it's an undecided voter. That's how I see it. It's someone that hasn't really truly understood what I'm doing yet.
Yeah.
And when they do, how can they not like me, And so but I think it's actually quite powerful. And I think back to those early days when I was talking about like what is the purpose of life, and I felt like the purpose of life at that time I did a video was owning your time.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be able to take my 2-year-old son to nursery and pick him up, literally wait for him and then pick him up. And I did a post about how lucky I was to be able to do that. And then the trolls in the comments were like, well, I'm unemployed and I get to do that every day. So, I'm like, well, you're not that much different from me.
Yeah.
If you've got time freedom, it sounds crazy. I think that is the most valuable thing in life.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's an underrated thing because as long as you apply that free time to something purposeful, it is the definition of success. When I was 20, I remember thinking, the thing that I wanted was a really nice car.
Yeah.
Like I would love to own a Ferrari, that kind of, or Porsche was actually my car back then. Now, I go bike riding on a Wednesday afternoon at 2:00. I just feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world. Like you could keep the car. I think that, again, I wasn't educated when I was younger. I self-educated myself as I came out the broken education system. And, and I don't know if anyone else feels it. Any of your listeners listening will be like, the people that are successful, the ones that just on a Tuesday are just like 11:00, they've gone for brunch.
What? Yeah, 100%.
Like they are success. I don't. You put up in a Ferrari. I don't instantly think you're successful. I'm like, do you own that, or are you having to pay for that each month? Because you work for Ferrari right now. You're driving around their car and you're paying them each month. You probably also got a debtor, which means you're working for someone rich. If you've got that on finance, you're not successful in my mind. You are selling time for Ferrari. You're selling time for the person that lent you that money, and what a waste of time that is.
Yeah.
I love the idea, and your followers on TikTok will know right now about your staircase idea that you came up with about 18 months ago, where you bought the staircase and you've got the doorbell there.
I'm looking for one in Australia, by the way.
That's what we wanted to ask. Yeah.
And we've also seen that you've teamed up with Richard Branson, which is just it's amazing to see your two minds coming together and then making dreams happen. What can we? Well, okay, you've mentioned Australia there, but what can we expect? Like, what's coming between the two of you? Is this going to be a collaboration that we're going to see more of in the future?
So yeah, for those that don't know, we 18 months ago we bought a staircase in London. It's 5 stories high, encased in glass. This ridiculous building, basically, but it's just a staircase. It's a staircase to nowhere. And it's got an interesting backstory. It used to be a fire exit for a very big building in London. And then they renovated the building and they didn't need this fire exit anymore. So it went up for auction. It was the first staircase to go up for auction in London. It was being pitched as this property development opportunity. And I thought, no, we won't develop it as a property. We'll just keep it as a staircase. And we'll put a doorbell on the bottom of it. And we'll say, if you've got a dream, you can go to this doorbell at the bottom of this staircase and press it, because we're the first step to helping your dream come alive. You pitch it to the world. We upload it to our 14 million followers, and we try to help your dream come alive. And so it just started off as something very simple like that, a bit of fun. It just went crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if I went live there now, we have a live camera there, there'll be 20 people there. It's become like a mecca for like
So cool.
people in their dreams.
Yeah.
And people in the queues end up becoming friends and helping each other, and it's crazy. So, and of course, so Richard Branson, who was my hero when I was growing up, and he was the guy when I was 17, 18, I tried to describe myself as an entrepreneur. Now everyone understands what an entrepreneur is, but I'm showing my age now. When I was 17, an entrepreneur was someone that couldn't get a job. Right, so an entrepreneur was like, or someone like a plumber, or it was seen as, it was a little bit looked down upon. It wasn't the not working at a bank, it wasn't a prestigious job at all. So the only way I could really lift my image up when I would describe what I do would be to reference Sir Richard Branson.
Yep.
I would say, "You Richard Branson, the guy that's launched an airline and has a record store," and they'd be like, "Oh, that's what you mean. All right, okay." And suddenly I'd have a little bit more respect. And so I owe him.
Yeah.
He helped me through a difficult young time in my life when describing what I was doing was not cool. And so anyway, luckily he loves what we're doing and decided to team up with us, and we've launched a second doorbell in London in Shoreditch, which is the other side of our other doorbell, and we have plans to launch them all over the world.
So you mentioned Australia. You mentioned
every single city in the world.
Well, okay, so where will you guys be coming here to Australia to launch that doorbell?
Yes.
And which city do you think it'll be in?
We haven't decided yet.
Oh, it's going to be
Has to be
competitive.
Sydney.
It has to be Sydney. Because Melbourne will
So
want
my
it
dream would be
too.
the Sydney Opera House. Can we get them to give us a spot and a staircase drawing or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
but yeah, I'm totally up for
100%.
it.
This girl here, this is the girl that you need to get this doorbell done and wherever you want it, because she's, as you know, she's a producer on one of the TV shows here in Australia as well, but she's just she makes shit happen. Like, she can make anything happen.
That's very nice. Yeah. Well, I was saying to Simon, I hope that you guys are bringing a doorbell to Sydney or Melbourne, anywhere in Australia, really, because I was like, I don't care what state it's in. I just want Simon to bring a doorbell to Australia because it will benefit people so much here. And yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. I will ring the Opera House and make it happen for you, 100%.
Let's do it. I mean, I'm looking for partners in each major city to make it happen, and I think we've got the infrastructure to the videos. It's not as straightforward as it sounds, actually, because people pitch.
Yeah.
We then have to download that video. We then have to edit it. We then have to upload it on social media, and anyone that knows social media, is some intricacies to it,
Yes.
right? Each platform has its own font and style, and all. It's actually quite a bit of work, but we have a whole team that does it. We have a full-time doorbell team,
Yeah.
and we perfected the art of doing it. So, we are ready to scale into other cities. The key in any new city is also a bit of a PR angle.
Yeah.
So, if the Sydney Opera House did it, of course, that would be the PR.
course,
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we could
yeah.
also buy a staircase, or we could buy a bit of land and put a staircase on it.
Well, you don't
Anything that
necessarily
can give
need
the PR
a
angle.
staircase at the Opera House because it has the iconic stairs already.
Right.
So it would almost be a matter of figuring out where around the stairs you would put it, because
I'm seeing a brilliant behind-the-scenes YouTube video of how you made this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you've sent me on a mission. I'm going to get you in touch with all the right people and see if you like
Let's
the
do it.
space. It's all about you figuring out if it's going to fit right with your brand as well,
Yeah. Well, I think this is the sobering truth of this idea is that worldwide, where can you go if you've got a dream and get some help? So in England, the doorbell is it.
Yeah.
And you've got programs like Shark Tank and Dragon's Den, in fairness to them, but they're TV shows. So what happens is you apply. It takes 9 months to get on. They record it. 8 months, 12 months later, it gets aired. And so many people don't get on that show because they don't have a physical product yet.
Yeah.
So there's a real problem. There's no place for people to go to get their dream out.
Yeah.
So I think it's really needed what we're doing.
And it's hard to, I know, like, even for me personally, it's hard to ask someone for help. Like, when you don't
Totally.
know what you're doing, but you know you've got the vision, right? It's so difficult to go up to someone you don't know who's been in that position and say, hey, can you help me? Because you're also afraid they're going to say no, or they might be like, well, why would I help you when I could do it myself? Whereas I feel like that's always playing in the back of your head. So it's nice to see that there's a community now being built where people are no longer afraid to ask, like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll ask somebody else. Like, I think that's a really positive attitude to have.
I think you're touching on such an important point, and it's quite interesting. We launched helpbank.com about 18 months ago now.
Yep.
And before we launched, we spent about a year planning it. And one of the big concerns we had was there wouldn't be enough people on the platform helping.
Yep.
So we're like, a lot of our early conversations were like, right, we're going to say you can go on there and get help, but how can we make sure people
Are getting
help?
it. Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing. When we launched, the problem wasn't people wanting to help. Humanity is actually really kind, and people do want to help. Now, we have to make it convenient for people to help,
Yeah.
but people want to help. And so the truth is, in human nature, it's in us to help naturally. We want to help. We used to be tribal, living in, on average, tribes of 5,000. It's in our instinct to offer help to our tribe to make our tribe happy. What isn't natural is, as you just said, to ask for help.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem on the platform at the beginning was there was no culture of it's okay to say you need some help. It's okay to be vulnerable and explain how you've got yourself into debt, for example, or how you can't afford to start that business because of why. And I think it's so important that we remember that the strongest people ask for help. And if we don't empower people to ask for help, and I have people in my community like this, that people have almost committed suicide because they couldn't ask for help. Now, I don't know anyone listening. If you've got a loved one, what would you rather they do? Ask you for help or kill themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know it's hardcore, but like it literally is like that for some people. They just don't feel they can ask, so they don't, and that's that.
Yeah.
And I think we have to change the culture. So one, people feel it's okay to ask, and two, we continue to say we're here to help. What can no judgment.
Yeah.
What can we do to help you?
Simon, you're a very giving person and you focus on a lot of other people, but what is it that Simon Squibb wants for himself in the next 5 years?
I really want HelpBank to work because HelpBank is the replacement of me. I enjoy going out and helping people, but I have limited time, and I can only really help meaningfully 1, 2, maybe 3 people a day. So, and I have a young son, and I like spending time with him, and I have neglected my health the last 18 months because I've been working so hard on this project. And I do need HelpBank to work so that platform right now has 215,000 people on it. And if everyone helps each other, if 215,000 people all helped one person today, imagine the difference we can make. It's so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
And so I'm just championing the vision and the mission, and I'm funding it. But I think the important thing is that we as a community come together more, and the community can be now online, but we say, look, we're here to help. If I've got a contact that can help you, I'll introduce you. Let's do it. I don't need 50% of your business like they do on Shark Tank. I can just do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who do you need? If I know someone that's going to help you, I can introduce you. It's not going to hurt me, is it?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing, is like, I want everyone to take 4 minutes each day to help someone else without any expectation of anything in return. And I think that's when people ask me how can they help, I'm like, go on HelpBank and help someone today for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And the platform's not perfect, like all these social media platforms, there's fake accounts, there's fake people, just push through it and try to help one real person each day for 4 minutes. That's it. That's what I want. And I think if everyone does it, who knows, 3 weeks from now, if 1 million people helped 1 million people without any expectation of anything in return, I reckon within 3 weeks we'd have wars stopping. Like, let's just help each other.
Totally. You've made such a big impact, obviously, kicking off in the UK, but a mate of mine who is down from a regional town here in Australia called the Sunshine Coast we're sitting on the couch last night. We're just watching Elon Musk and a chat on Joe Rogan's podcast, and your email came through up on my phone just to say that you're confirming,
Joining the chat today.
to join in the chat today. And he's sitting there and he's like, "Fuck off, mate! You're talking to Simon Squibb tomorrow." It is crazy now. Like, you're touching the entire world I had no idea that he would have known who you were, to be really honest with you. He wasn't the kind of guy that I would have thought would watch your content. As soon as he saw your email on my screen, just to see who you're touching, I think you're touching areas where you probably may not even know sometimes.
Yeah.
It is shocking me, but I think, I think why I wonder why it's reaching everybody. I think it's because it's kind of a universal thing, isn't it? Like, in reality, I had yesterday a young. He's 10 years old. His dream is to be a DJ, and he with his parents. He's like, he wants to be a DJ. His parents are like, and we're going to support him. He's 10 years old, and I was like, okay, so how can I help you? He's like, I just need someone to promote me, just to say, here, go to my channel.
Yeah. Right?
And so we did this. We promoted him his channel. It got 15 million people to his channel.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this is the crazy thing. He is now inspiring young people to do it. So the reason I think this is working is again, it's not me. It's when you watch someone that's just like you in a video and they're doing it, it wakes you up.
Yep.
And you're like, well, why am I not doing my dream? And a lot of people are then asking themselves, if that 10-year-old who we helped yesterday has his dream, that is making people ask what should be asked at school, by the way, which is, what is my dream? And that is a part of the brain that we're firing up that is otherwise never fired up in some people's lives because they're almost not allowed a dream. You've got a bill to pay. You've got stuff to do. You've got to go to work by 9. You've got to do this, that, and that. Your brain is not free to think what is your dream because you're living in fight or flight. Most people are living in fight or flight, which is just survival mode. And so I think why it's resonating is because it's giving people, when they're watching these videos, 3 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, where in those videos they're asking themselves, what is my dream?
Yeah.
And some people are living it and they're like, great. Some people know what it is, but they're not doing it. So that pushes them. I should be doing it. And then the people that have never asked themselves this question, and in my opinion, if I was in charge of the education system, it'd be the first question I ask. Because, I took my son out of school, by the way, and I home educate my son. And the reason is, in school, the first thing they asked him is, what are you going to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
It's the wrong question. Because that question traps your mind into a particular profession. Doctor, lawyer, whatever it is. And actually, it closes the mind into a one-track way of living your life. Go on that treadmill till you become that lawyer. But the way to open up kids' minds is, what's your dream? What problem do you want to solve when you grow up?
Yeah.
It's so much more exciting than what job do you want to do when you grow up. So, and I think with AI, back to your point earlier, I think we have to start thinking this way.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the jobs that we think we want, lawyers, accountants, they're all going to be gone.
Totally.
So why not free humanity to think about what problems you can solve? How can you be a part of solving problems?
So
it's much more fun.
What I mean, if someone's listening to this now and they are thinking that, like, what are going to be, what are the jobs going to be in 5 or 10 years' time? Are they going to be places where we can go out to retreats and drop our phones and have no technology around and just relax and, almost go the complete opposite to what AI is and run against the grain? And like, where do you see the opportunities for people that, maybe they don't have a tech skill?
So I think about this a lot as well, what the future might look like. And I always default back to the basic principle of humans will want experiences.
Yeah.
So whether that's AI experiences or that's real life, going to a wine vineyard, riding a bike in the sunshine, whatever it is, humans will want experiences. And so I think that we as humans, if we do this right, should have the time to have those experiences. And if we do it right, there should be abundance. There should be abundance of food, and there should be abundance of basic human needs, like a place to sleep, a safe place to sleep. There should be abundance of things, and it should be cheaper because of it. And so if we do it right, my feeling is it should mean humans have more time, and that means we can explore the rest of us. You know, there's this thing in neuroscience where they say humans are only using 8% of our brain. Well, what if we're set free to discover those other parts of our brain? And I often describe the moment I became an entrepreneur as a muscle waking up in my brain. And I don't think I was particularly smart when I was 13, 14. I was an average student. But I've opened up my mind to the world, to things, experienced the world, traveling, seeing it, plus working in it in a way that no one else has, maybe, who's followed the school system. I feel it's actually enhanced my ability to think, critically think. And I think humans have the power to do this. I'm hoping for my son, who's 7 now, that he will have the time to contribute to the world and have time to enjoy himself. And he won't be a slave to the system that expects him to pay a mortgage, pay a car loan, pay an electricity bill, pay the water bill, pay the taxes, and just get by each month, which is 90% of people right now.
Yeah.
A big part of that problem as to why, a lot of us, believed we need to live that way in the past was traditional media, right? And I think traditional media now is losing a lot of trust with audiences, and audiences are moving away from those platforms, moving towards podcasts on, to your podcast, to your YouTube channel, to others as well. Are you finding the same thing happening? I mean, we're seeing you now, your numbers are bigger than the BBC. So are we seeing the same thing happen in the UK where, audiences are moving away from traditional media and moving more towards new media and watching content in their own way?
Yes, 100%. I think it's a really exciting moment for people that want to compete with big companies as well. Yeah. So I see, I built 19 businesses. So when I built my last really successful company, it was a company called Fluid, based out of Hong Kong. I sold it to PricewaterhouseCoopers in the end. But, when I built that company, it was Fluid was the company. That was the brand. We spent a lot of time on branding, communications about Fluid. And Simon Squibb was just a guy behind the company. It was like, I wasn't famous. The company was famous, and I was just someone that ran it. I think now people want to know who's behind the company. Yeah. You can't run a company anymore without that transparency. That's like the minimum transparency that people feel they need now. Yeah. And so that's why you have folks like Mark Zuckerberg, no choice. He's not comfortable being the face of any company. Yeah. But he has to do it. Yeah. Because that's the only way people connect to brands now. And, Tim Cook is literally designed to make you feel like you can trust Apple with your data.
Yes.
His personal brand, that's his whole personal brand. I've got your data. Don't worry, though. I'm not letting anyone get it. So the people in companies now, and here's the really exciting thing. If you look at the way that it's gone, you started off with Facebook. Facebook starts off, it becomes $1 trillion business because it attracts people to the platform. So the $1 trillion business because it attracts people to the platform. The next layer that came along was apps on top. So, TikTok, Instagram, they become, similar, but they're a quick access point, attracting attention, becoming $1 trillion businesses. The next $1 billion business, $1 trillion business is in plain sight, and it is basically individuals. So you're kind of seeing the green shoots of this with people like the Kardashians launching Skims, which now partner with Nike, becomes $1 billion company. You're seeing it with things like Prime and Mr. Beast with the chocolate bars. These individuals. And I'm a small person, Fry, compared to those guys. But look, I'm seeing it too in my own way. If you can be transparent, be who you are, get an audience that loves you, people will trust you and they will buy from you. Yeah. And so in that there becomes $1 trillion business. So I think individuals are now potentially in their own right $1 trillion businesses. Yeah. And again, Kardashians and Mr. Beast and these existing early stage proof of concepts are showing that this is the way. And if you're listening and you build up your personal brand and you be yourself, build up your personal brand, that's the future. I think it's a really exciting opportunity, and you can beat big companies, because I'd rather buy from someone I know than some big corporation I've never met in my life. That's why Nike's stock price dropped 30%, and that's why they had to do a deal with Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They need to revive their brand, because people are sick of brands. They want to know, what's the ethos behind the company, and why am I here, and who are you, and why you? And I think that's exciting for creators.
So there's this great video where you're in your original office, and you're giving us a tour. You're showing how this is the first place that you leased, and it turned into a certain amount of people working for you. We have done that here with Boom Studio. This is the space that you're in right now. We've hired this little box. I'll grab the laptop so that you can see the little box that we've hired. This is our first commercial lease, right? So I'll flick the camera around so you can see what we've done here. Right, so we've got the cameras set up and everything like that. This is the size of the space.
It's real top notch. We've got the cameras still on boxes because we haven't got our necks.
Yeah, so we're not.
By the way, it never changes. If I turn the laptop around right now, you'd see my desk is similar. So don't worry, it's normal. I think when you start realizing you have an imagination and you're meant to use it, it's really exciting. Building is the fun bit. The actual journey is the fun bit, right?
Yeah.
The destination. I mean, I'm always happy to kind of sell the company once I've built it. I think it's the journey that's the really fun bit. And I love building businesses, even though I've got money today. I sometimes pretend I don't have money when I'm building a company. It's fun to be creative about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so when I see that space, by the way, my mind thinks you could probably. Is it being used now? That
no.
Space looks...
So no. This whole building, right? Because commercial leases in Australia right now, they're really hard to get people into. So we got this little box that we're in right now, sitting with you. It was basically just a little cupboard. No one wanted it because there's no windows. It's it's a bit of a shithole. So we basically just grabbed this, put all our gear in here, and then no one's here. There's probably been one person that's come up here to do a viewing of the area,
space,
in the last 6 weeks. So we're just kind of fingers crossed that it stays that way for a little bit, and then hopefully we can expand in the next year.
Yeah, and again, I think I always want to expand based on a mission. So I like the vibe you're talking about there, where people are free and they can do what they need to do and what they want to do. I mean, there's always ways to fast track stuff. First of all, you could do a shout out. I could do a shout out to the 14 million people that follow me. We've sold 25,000 books in Australia. So, 25,000 people, I could say, what if, everyone rented one chair from you for a month?
Yeah.
And they just had that experience, almost like a holiday work experience kind of idea.
Yeah.
You could get people to pre-order those seats, and then you could have it all rented out by the end of next month.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Great idea.
I think creativity and business really go hand in hand. If you look out the window at big buildings that get built, often they are actually built by people with an imagination. They end up being, often ways of getting money out of people. But I love the imagination. The chair you're sitting on right now was in someone's head once, and they made it real. The microphone you're using was once in someone's head, and they made it real.
Yep.
I think that's all it is. That's all this entrepreneur game is. Kids under the age of 5, like 95% of them are registered geniuses. By the time they get to 10, less than 2% are. Because the school system takes this out of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It tells you to stop thinking and start writing down what you've been told. And I think, if you wake up that muscle in your brain, which you just started to talk about there, here's this space, what could we do with it?
Yeah.
It's just creativity.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And you'll fill it up quick.
Well,
Yeah,
Simon, you inspired us to give this a crack, and we are going to give it our best shot, and we absolutely love your book as well. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time, and we can't wait to see you here in Australia. And,
I'll be in touch. We're going to get that doorbell happening.
Right,
Don't worry.
I will be there. My plan is to be there in October.
Amazing.
So,
well, yeah, we'd love to have
yeah.
you. If you want to pop into the space as well, if you need this to record, please let us know. You're more than welcome to use the
You'll
space.
be too full up by then.
Yeah,
we'll be packed.
We'll be packed. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Simon. Thanks for doing it so late in the UK as well. We really appreciate you.
Not at all. Love you guys. Your energy's awesome. Really nice to meet you both, and look forward to meeting you in person when I come to Australia.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
awesome.
We can't wait. Thanks,
Simon.